Okay, so our big rock topic today is service projects. And was anybody here last year for our discussion? Bonnie, were you here for our discussion last year? I don't think so. Okay, that's good. You guys can audit what I do from last year to this year. There is video of last year's presentation. This is fairly similar, but we've got a few new ideas also. I always break these into two. Either you're doing community service or conservation service. And we're going to start by talking about community service. Community is all about, this is the definition of community service, any service performed by your unit or members of your unit that helps someone else. If you're painting your Cub Master's house, that does not count. If you're painting the house of the elderly neighbor who's has mobility issues next door to your Cub Master, that could count. There's the differentiation. We do have a long-standing tradition, top to bottom, of encouraging our local units, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, venturing varsity teams, the whole bit, of doing service within our community, helping other people. A few ideas. One of the best ones we've done for a long time is to go to your charter organization and say, how can we help? We're here because of you, whether it's your ward, whether it's a church that sponsors you, whether it's a PTO, a PTA, the Masonic Lodge, the Elks Club, the VFW. You're here because of them. Ask if you can help. Paint something, clean something up. There's all kinds of different things we can do to help our charter organization. Adopt a school is a good one. Again, if you're chartered by a PTO, a PTA, or a parents organization, that's kind of an obvious one, to adopt the school that you come from, or adopt the school that you primarily pull from, even if you are chartered by a local church or something like that. Clothing drive is something that we used to do here at Goodwill, good turn, but they kind of depreciated that. It doesn't happen as a structured thing from the district, from the council anymore. But you as a unit can do a clothing drive to reach out to your community and say, hey, we're going to collect clothing for a clothing closet, for a homeless shelter, for other things like that, Salvation Army maybe. Easy way, and again, what we're providing as a pack is the foot power to go door to door and say, first you're probably going to hang flyers or something like that and say, hey, we're going to collect clothing on this day, and then to go back and do the thing, whatever it is. Same thing with book drives. Book drives can benefit a local school, a local library, again, something like a homeless shelter, women's shelter. You know, there's a lot of need for books and that sort of thing. Food drive, scouting for food counts. That doesn't mean that if you decide you want to do this, can't go out and do a food drive this time of year. You can. You can go to your neighborhood, print up some flyers, or get the word out somehow. And on a Saturday, go out and stump for food and take it to Sunshine Pantry or whatever food pantry is your favorite. Make sure that those people that you're collecting from know your scouts, wear your uniform, and where this is going to. It's an easy way to do that. Toy drive. This is a good one for, of course, towards the end of the year during the holiday season. And again, pick an organization that is going to be the recipient of those things, whether it be something like the KGW toy drive or something else. So maybe it's a military organization. That's always a good one. There might be some here. I'm not as familiar with that stuff. Heather, do you know anything about that?
There's one in Beaverton.
There's
actually
one in Beaverton?
a really good one that looks for both used and new toys.
Do you know the name of it?
I can go look at my wife found it, and we've been donating our stuff to there.
Yeah.
I'll get to you.
Yeah, that'd be good. If you could send it to me, I can make sure to get that out. Because that's an easy one around November to start doing things like that and say, hey, if you've got the new ideas.
This is an organization that does it year round. They have several sites they move. They kind of have a couple little offices, so you have a couple drop points. And the nice thing is they do things for birthdays as well and things like that. So that's why when we get some good deals, sometimes we'll buy a couple extra things and donate it to them so they get new stuff to give to kids for birthdays. Yeah, that's great. Okay. So yeah, I'd love to get that information. That's a great way. Again, we're providing the manpower, if you will, of going around to your neighborhood and picking up those things from the people. And if everybody gives just a little bit, all of a sudden you end up with a lot of stuff. There's a lot of ideas about assisting the elderly, going to a nursing home and maybe running a bingo game or something like that.
We went Christmas caroling at a memory unit at a nursing home.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think when I was a Cub Scout, I don't remember if we went caroling or if there was something else. I remember going to a nursing home. Now that you mention that. memory comes flooding back. Yeah, but that's a good one too, and there are a lot of elderly, yeah, go ahead, Heather.
We have I don't know what troop it is, I'm trying to find out, but in my elderly neighborhood,
Yeah.
they come twice a year and spread the bark dust paths in their little garden area.
Yeah,
So
there you go, do a little
paint
groundskeeping.
curves.
Yeah, that's excellent. And then of course we do, and I just found out about this, I've been up here for a fair number of years and I wasn't aware of the cemetery over in Thunderbird District, I think it is, the big one that they do every year. Thank you, Lima National Cemetery every year on Memorial Day. It's a big deal. Yeah, and so if you want to get hooked up with that every year, I had somebody email me about that. It wasn't you, was it? Emailed me about that, and I have no idea, but I looked up the contact information, the phone number. Here, call them, and then he reported back, and oh, cool. And I think DeAngelis had a bunch of information on this right before it was going to happen, and I thought, too late. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, get tuned in a little bit early. We've tried to do Memorial Day, it was Memorial Day or Veterans Day, and it was that thing of, well, we've got 2 months, we could do something, and then Heather got always not enough time.
A lot of organizations plan their stuff a year in advance.
Yeah.
We couldn't even get a flag ceremony in, so we ended up making cards for the veterans with the intent of actually taking them to the veterans hospital and passing them out, only to find out they were closed on Veterans Day. So, yeah, it does take some planning.
Definitely plan it, yes.
Our PAC does a Reese Across America over here in Peterton.
Okay.
Right by the old Easter Center,
Okay.
the Veterans Memorial plaque.
Yeah, on Hall, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what's that all about?
Reese Across America is started with just one person out and putting wreaths on the soldiers' tombs.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then it's grown across
Nice.
the country. And everybody at 9 a.m. have a moment of silence, and it's everybody across country. It's doing the ceremony at the same time.
Okay.
And you place wreaths for the POWs, each branch of the military,
Okay.
and then you can get extra wreaths to put
So the
out.
service is placing the wreath?
Yes,
Okay.
and so we place the wreaths there.
Where do the wreaths come from?
There's a whole, it's from Wreaths Across America.
Oh, okay.
Where-
Well, it's pretty easy though. If you're hooked into that, then you just show up and do the thing. It's very well bounded, right?
Yeah.
They just need people to help place the wreaths.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Good.
I'm surprised you didn't have the food bank on here, Oregon Food Bank.
Well, that would.
Well,
Oh,
so
you can-
this is service.
Okay.
So
So you
we've
can
done
go
this a
to
couple
the
years
food
in a row. So my wolves, this year, we had to come up with the thing to do for the pack. And we'd done it a year or so before, and they said, let's do that again.
Okay.
And you go to, there's one in Beaverton that's the cold pack, and there's some over in Portland that's the dry goods.
Okay.
And so in the cold pack, you go in there, you gotta wear your sweater and stuff like that. They apron you up, and we packed green beans or packed frozen vegetables. And so
Okay.
they have some growers and things will deliver huge, industrial
trucks.
sized things.
Yeah.
And we package them into 2-pound bags. So you have this whole assembly line.
Okay.
You can sign up. I did the sign up for the last couple of years.
So
So
it's
you call them
Cub
up.
Scout age appropriate?
It is, yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
what you do is you have the parents. You say you really need the parents to go along too.
Yes.
But we had 24 people do it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Is it the
this
kind of thing
year.
where you show up and you kind of get a
So
4-hour
they-
block of time?
Well, they give you, it's like 2 hours.
Okay.
You pack until done. So it's kind of, so maybe for some younger guys, it's a little late, it starts at like 6:30 at night. But you go in there and we were just, packing bags, and you got people putting it in the bags and people putting on the twist ties and packing
Yeah.
the boxes, making the boxes, putting on pallets, packed like, 3,700 pounds worth
Okay.
of
So then the
vegetables.
key is when do they get the delivery, then they need the manpower.
Well, so
Right.
that's, the food bank does all that. But
Okay.
this is the taking, this is the frozen vegetables
Yeah.
in this case. And we did green beans one year.
Yeah.
It's the manpower of prepping all the stuff. They have teams for the delivery
Oh,
to
okay,
all the
okay,
things.
okay.
This is about the back end between
Okay.
the growers and the people donating the food
The big, huge
and
buckets,
the
yeah.
delivery of the food. There's
Okay.
the processing part.
Interesting.
And it's done, they have different things almost every day of the week.
Okay.
And they have groups, so you sign up as a leader of a group, and you tell them how many people, and you sign
Okay.
up all your people, It's all done on a website. It's
Okay.
pretty easy to do.
It sounds like
You
salt,
gotta
actually.
schedule out at least a month and a half in
Really?
advance
Wow.
because there's so many people do it.
But that's neat.
But yeah, and so you just, and then everyone, the first time they do it, they have to fill out a release
Waiver.
form.
Yeah, okay.
But if you're coming back like the second year, like, we're already in the system, no problem.
Oh, that's
And
great.
it really works well. It's a really great thing.
I didn't know that was an
And-
opportunity. I
Yeah,
actually
do
know.
it as groups.
Yeah.
And so, and the kids, you know, it
Is there,
really
is there a minimum size group?
No,
Not that you're aware of?
but well, I say you can do it as individuals,
Okay.
but a group I think is 6 or more.
Okay.
And then they have on each day, let's say we have this many individual slots and this many group slots.
Okay, got it.
And so some days you'll see those like no group, no group, no group, and then like on a Wednesday it was like a group. There was 40 slots open.
Oh,
I think
wow.
we took.
They need
Actually, I
help
take
on
it
that
back. We had almost 30 people.
Cool. That's a great
and you
suggestion.
can adjust it. It's a little complicated if
Yeah.
everyone wants. I can.
But if you go on the website,
And so it's all on the website, but if you need to change the size of your group when everyone's like, oh, I really wanted to do that, you gotta go grab more slots and add the slots and then add the extra people
Okay.
into the slots. And,
Cool.
but yeah, it's a really great opportunity.
And it's right here in
constant.
Beaverton too.
And it's right over off of 158th.
In Cornellish area, right?
It's just a little south of Cornell
Yeah.
off of 158th.
Yeah, okay. Very good.
And they also, if you have phone books, they need phone books. What they do is the cardboard boxes they get a lot of times won't connect, and so they'll put a piece of phone book paper down so when you tape it shut, it won't stick to the bags of food and tear them because they would be bad. So if you have,
I never would have thought of
I
that.
have a pile of phone books in my car.
Just
I
waiting
keep
for 'em.
trying to get
That's
over there.
fascinating. How interesting. Thank you. That's a great suggestion. The other one is an easy one: litter cleanup and beautification, whether it be a park or your school that you're near or something like that. We did one about a year ago that was the church we were meeting in on the parking lot across the street, and one of our charter org rep now noticed that there's trash everywhere. So we just asked, hey, can you help clean that up? Took 45 minutes, and then we took them all to the Cub Scout shootout. And it was great. I mean, give them that reward at the end. But litter cleanup is easy. What you can't see here is there's, she about 3 years old, was Freedom's youngest.
Yeah.
And running off, she helped. She picked up litter. So you can have everybody come help. Again, the placing flags, the Memorial Day stuff, the Veterans Day stuff. It's always a good photo op. Take a picture of your scouts with flags on that type of thing.
We also do solve. By the way.
And I'll get to solve. Solve
Oh, solve
falls
separate?
into the conservation
Okay.
side. Food drive, I talked about the clothing drive. These all kind of have similar elements, but again, where are these things going to? Who have you targeted to be the beneficiary? And it's the book drive. Again, is that going to go into school, a local library, some kind of it could be, it's a lot of things. Anybody ever done a book drive or newspaper drive? If you look up, newspaper drive or book drive, you can start to get ideas of what organizations take and need these kind of things. Okay, so that's my kind of general suggestion list. I'm going to add Oregon Food Bank for next year's presentation. I appreciate that.
You do dry goods at Oregon Food Bank, you get to wear a hairnet.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting. Have you done that?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's downtown, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if that would be.
Columbia Bowl.
Yeah.
It's easier because you don't have to get all gussied up in your heavy coat. But
Scoop 3 scoops of beans into this bag. Scoop
Interesting.
4 scoops of rice into this bag. Yeah.
and I'm sure they need just as much help too as the cold pack guys.
It's,
Note that there are segments that you can tie into. There's a very generic, we did some kind of civic service, the handshake. This is a classic. I have these on my Cub Scout uniform. Scouting for Food has its own specific one. And again, to get that, know that there is extra paperwork based on what day, how much food you collected by weight. It's kind of ridiculous. You guys have done that before with putting, you got to prove that you were there with blood and everything. For the homebound nursing home, there's the living service. It's kind of a cool one. So think about that. And I don't think there's any paperwork for that one. We haven't done that one yet. And patriotic services, again, something like placing flags on the cemetery grave, that sort of thing. Raise the flag at a school, that's another good example. Or take part in some sort of service project. That's one you can give out. Well, great suggestion. I think Rob had last year, or maybe on a different thing, was to mix it up a little bit. If you do the same thing every year, maybe you do, the placing the flags. One year you could give the patriotic service, next year you could do civic service, just to keep it interesting and not have Billy Cub Scout with 5 zillion of the same exact segments, right?
And they've actually at the Scout store have added, so now for instance,
Yeah.
there's a US flag segment.
Oh, there is.
Yeah. and
Yeah,
there's-
they pulled a bunch from basically the Seattle area, or Chief Seattle Council.
So there's now, for some of them, there's a multiple options.
Yes, which is kind of
So
cool.
yeah, I always try to,
Just keep it fresh, right?
yeah.
For those
I mean,
scouts
now,
that have
like-
done this for 3 years. Unfortunately, scouting for food, that's the one that you get.
The-
Although
the
it'd be
only
nice to
thing
have
about-
different colors, right?
The only thing about scouting for food is it's free because
Oh, you don't have to pay for it.
by turning in all that paperwork, the council gives you the segments.
Because they want the data for how much food you collect.
Exactly, and they give you exactly.
That's your payment.
So that's why scouting for food is different, and you cannot buy it in
Okay,
Scout Shop.
off the shelf. Also note that there are a couple of awards. I'm not going to get into each of those. We've talked about at least one of these, maybe both previous times. You can do Messengers of Peace has 3 different elements to it. You can tie in some of your community service to that, as well as the International Spirit Award. Some links there to go do homework and research if you're interested in that. But the primary thing would be the segments. Questions before we move on to conservation project? Thank you for the ideas, guys. It's awesome. Okay, so conservation, instead of helping our fellow human, we're helping our planet. That's the gist of it. And we're doing it locally, right? We're planting trees, we're maybe eliminating invasive species, something like that. Here's a list. Native trees, shrubs, grasses is a classic. Wetlands restoration, kind of a similar bent. There's anybody familiar with Tryon Creek Park over there? They had a huge problem with English ivy for the past 30 years, and they don't want to use chemicals. They have people come in every weekend by hand, pull out English ivy, and they've been doing it consistently. And that's the kind of thing that we as Cub Scout leaders and Cub Scouts can participate in. Very simple, just labor-intensive, hand-pulling sort of thing. Animal habitat restoration, you might be scratching your head going, what's Mike talking about? I got an example of this in just a second. But we can help bring native species back that have fled for a variety of reasons. Bird feeders, bird bath, house construction. Again, you're going to want to have somebody who knows what they're doing in terms of establishing the bird habitat, what birds are native here, what you're encouraging. Adopt a park is similar to adopt a school. I don't know a lot about it, but I think there's a website out there. If you're interested, check it out. I think it's a scouting.org thing. Beach and waterfront cleanup gets into Solve. Solve is a great organization. I talked about it a year ago, and they started with the beach cleanup, and now they do waterfront, and now they do native planting, trees, stuff like that.
Native species removal too.
Oh, they do. Yeah, they do all kinds of stuff all over. They have a great website, a great volunteer base, and then you can also do a recycling drive. The one thing that we talked about last year, and I'll say it again, is as a group, your scouts could go around with help from the adults, of course, and collect things like used motor oil, half-full paint cans, stuff like that. And when you know there's going to be hazardous waste recycling, or with paint, you can take it to Restore or something like that. And take those things, especially for maybe elderly residents that don't know where they go, and don't want to put them in the trash can. Take them and help those people by getting that stuff out and not having it go down the storm drain and going directly to and I'm going to talk about what you brought last year. I have a slide.
Okay.
We can read up the storm drain marking.
No, well, I was gonna, we did another recycling one. There
Oh,
was,
cool.
the e-cycles, so we recycled like old computer,
Yeah.
laptops and monitors, and
Okay.
anything like that. And then,
So who takes those?
actually, all the places that accept them, like Goodwill, they all
Okay.
take them.
Really?
The recycle center on Denny will take it.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have big stuff for
Big
that.
And
bin
so
and stuff.
it's easy.
Us as a unit could go around and spread the word. We're collecting all electronics.
Right, and
To
there's
get
a
them out.
limit of 5 per person, so you don't have, because
So
they don't.
every Cub Scout gets 5 televisions.
Right, but I mean, so it's not very hard to collect
Okay.
enough, and actually, if you don't do a huge group, that's plenty of stuff
Okay.
to haul over if I
Yeah,
away.
definitely.
So
Interesting.
yeah, but it was pretty easy to do, and it's also part of the wolf
Yeah.
book.
Yeah,
That's why I
right.
did it.
So when just for any wolf leaders coming up, they will not let you take a tour of that recycling center on Denny.
Really? That's too
No,
bad.
because
Safety
it's
thing.
a safety thing and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So we went and talked about recycling. We did our own tour of the publicly accessible area
Got it.
and talked about all the things you can recycle and
Right.
stuff like that.
Interesting. Also, because my youngest is a wolf, I have to remember that. But that's great to go around and collect those things and dispose of them correctly so they don't end up in a landfill, right?
Right.
That's the whole point.
Well, because it's got the, there's
Well, it's all kinds of stuff.
heavy metals.
Oh, yeah.
and
Go ahead.
On that same note, another really easy one and a really big one that you could also tie into helping your elderly people. Make sure you have adults, but the medication,
Oh,
because there is a drop at the Beaverton Police Department.
okay.
in the
For your
line.
old drugs.
So you could do, for all your old drugs, right? Because people throw them away.
And you don't want that stuff to end up in the water or in the
Right.
wrong hands.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Police department too with this large one.
They burn
I
this.
believe it goes back to pharmacies and, medical waste.
Oh, wow.
Actually get rid of it. But that's, yeah, they've got a drop.
They
They
have-
run, events, I think, like every April, but
Okay.
they've got a drop there
Okay.
and, a lot of elderly people.
And I'm sure if you were to contact somebody that does that, they can help tell you, yeah, we can take a bulk thing.
Metro takes that as well. So besides all the paints and the
Okay.
thing, they have a medication drop, a propane tank drop for expired
Ah.
propane tanks, or all your little cylinders you don't know what
Yes.
to do with.
Yeah, some of us have a few of those.
Right. Well, I had a whole
And,
pile of
and are
them.
learning how to refill them from our barbecue canister.
No.
You can do it. It's
There's a difference between can and should.
yeah, there's truth to that.
Huge difference.
There's truth to that. A few photos, again, native species removal is what I assume these scouts are doing. I'm not sure, but I just thought I'd throw it out there. Great photo. Of course, planting trees is a classic. Again, work with an expert, work with somebody who knows, the area you're working in and has authority to plant a tree there. These young scouts are planting bare root trees. Everyone has the tree planters there. And again, you can have your siblings, your younger siblings, your older siblings come along. No problem with that. There's, usually no safety. And this was the animal habitat restoration. These are raptor perches. This was forested at one point. All the raptors went away. Boom in mice, shrew, voles, all that kind of stuff. So they brought back, they're making an effort to bring back raptors by putting up raptor perches. And again, if you have somebody who has an expertise in that, and says, yes, we planted some trees, but it's going to be a while before they're raptor size. Let's go put some posts out to encourage these animals to come back and regain a balance in this ecosystem. That's a pretty easy one. Of course, you're got to have some adult involvement and all that kind of stuff, and some good things. You don't want your Cub Scouts to be wielding these huge poles around. Yes.
Also, if you're worried about Audubon Society, now I thought, what's the one up here called? Anyway, I thought that was like, I thought I was calling the Audubon here, but actually I called somewhere back in Pennsylvania. But they can tell you, they have people, and they looked at what kind of birds we had.
Yeah.
They told me exactly what size the hole
The
needed
whole of
to
the
be.
birdhouse.
Because if
Yeah.
it's a quarter-inch bigger, or
Mhm.
a half-inch smaller, then the wrong animal gets in there.
Yep.
And so they can tell you exactly, and they were very nice, and they had me, they gave me all the information for our area,
Yep.
what I was making the house for,
Nice.
and the whole thing, and they told me exactly how to make the booth so we can clean it and
Nice,
stuff,
yeah.
they sent me a pattern. So they're really, I was just,
And again, making that phone call, you
Yeah.
get that information.
so that you're doing it correctly, rather than making a generic
Right.
birdhouse that,
That you buy it.
Or the squirrels
from-
live in.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Again, a couple of scouts getting muddy and excited about planting some trees. And one of the ones I wanted to mention, Ann brought last year, Clean Water Services is coordinating efforts to mark storm drains, and they're still doing it. Still, I went to my old neighbor, I used to live in the suburbs over off 170th, and I noticed the storm drains are marked. Hey, I know who did that. That's cool. But there are still areas in our district, in our area here, that they're not marked. The whole point is they want to spread the word and let people know that you shouldn't be pouring your stuff, whether it be motor oil or chemicals, down the storm drain because it goes directly to the streams. And so it's an education outreach, but it fundamentally it becomes a conservation thing because we don't want that stuff to go to the streams. We want to dispose of it properly. And as Ann mentioned a year ago, I think all you really needed were a couple of metal brushes, metal brushes to scrape off the sidewalk. They provide the glue, they provide the stickers, and you just need the manpower.
And they provide the door hangers, which most of the kids
Right.
said that the glue is very
Very sticky.
sticky. So we only had a dad and a son,
Yeah.
help that part, because,
Right.
and you don't have to have very many because there's only a few drains per street, but there's a lot of
Right.
flyers. So most of the boys did flyers to the
And I
door.
think you said you covered a pretty big space in a relatively small period of time.
Yeah, like we did 160 homes in, just the 1 hour pack
Yeah.
meeting.
which is great. You know, that works fantastic. It's great, it's simple. Your den can do it, your pack can do it, and it's very
And
simple.
you just have to fill out a form at the end saying how many homes you
Right.
did and which area, and send a map back.
There's some direct information here. I also have some information on the Google Drive. I'll send you a point or two today. The form, in fact, it's a PDF version of what you sent me last year. And they still need help. So this is a good one. It's
We did this in April based on last year's discussion roundtable. I completely took your idea and it was really good.
Yeah.
It's an easy to do for one time meeting, and
Super easy.
they all feel really good about it, and
Yeah.
the boys know not to put stuff down the drains.
Exactly.
Just-
And they know they're helping to spread awareness and all that kind of stuff.
And you'll find even areas that have been done, finding an area with 5 storm drains that haven't been done is actually pretty easy.
Yeah, they're out there. There are areas that have been done.
We're actually near,
Okay.
and we were able to find a section that hadn't been done.
And I would think that the Clean Water Services folks kind of have an idea of, oh, this neighborhood hasn't been hit yet.
No, she said we have to find our own.
Oh,
so
really?
Yeah.
They don't really, they
Oh.
sort of keep track, but you know, over, like, the old way was to stencil it on.
Yes.
So the stencils are
But
worn
that
out,
takes
so now
more.
they're putting the packs, but even the circles do come off eventually. So basically, they told us to go find our
So
own
it's sort of an
neighborhood, and we just
ongoing
have
thing.
to tell them where we did it, but
Okay.
they don't send all
They
the people out to
don't have a
count.
map that's coded or anything. Okay.
And we had to go around and we counted how many storms we know how much stuff to get.
Okay, yeah.
So beforehand, we had a little bit of prep.
And
That's-
that's what we did. One of the adult leaders in the pack,
Just
on her
cruises.
evening walk, she's walking through the neighborhood and she just says, oh, I found a section that's got 5 storm drains. We're gonna do that.
Let's do that. Perfect. A couple of organizations to partner with. Salt is a great one. We've done 2 or 3 with them. They're fantastic. They're a lot like what you were talking about with the food bank. You sign up for the day that you find the project that you want, the day that you want, the area that you want, and you sign up as a group, you sign up as an individual. It's a great organization. Friends of Trees. This is directly from the Guy Miller Tree Plant site, is another organization. Johnson Creek Watershed. THPRD does stuff here locally also. They're a good organization. They have projects. And I've never heard of them before until just recently, but Put Down Roots into Laws. Okay, that's kind of cool. No, if you're not familiar, we do have 3 segments. And again, you can kind of mix these up a little bit. If you do a tree plant one year and you do it the next year, you could do different segments. There's a general segment with I guess that's supposed to be a green axe, I think. Which is kind of weird for conservation, but whatever. Maybe it's a hodad. I don't know. So there's a general one, there's the solve specific, and it's a really neat patch. I like it. And of course, the general tree plant
And the
sponsored.
salt one's only 2 years old. That
Yes,
they just
it's
came
very
out.
new. And I think there are 3 or 4 in my house I need to sew on my kids' uniforms. Notice there are even more really neat awards here for doing conservation projects. The Conservation Good Turn Award is really simple. Do a conservation project. You got to complete a tree plant form. So if you plant trees, that's kind of the easiest way to do it. If you have a form, CPC, do that. World Conservation Award we talked about, I want to say about a year ago. And that's more involved. You do a conservation project and then you do other adventures and requirements based on the rank that your scouts are working on. All that information is here. It's all been changed as of a year ago with the new adventures, so go take a look at that. And then the Outdoor Ethics Award, we talked about this. I think that's what we talked about in July, wasn't it? And that's a big one. You need to have a trained person with all these things.
We don't in our area.
I actually found Troop 592. They went to Philmont and they got Leave No Trace trained. It was one of our dens went camping with Troop 592, who was out of one of the churches over in Raleigh Hills. And while they were camping, they earned this.
Presbyterian community.
Thank you. And because you're related.
Pack.
It's a good troop.
Yeah, it's great.
And they went camping, they went on a hike, they did all these extra things, and they came back with this award, and I was like, who is the person trained? The Boy Scouts. The older Boy Scouts who went to Philmont got this training.
After we were talking about, I asked
Yes.
the scout office and they didn't have any.
And that's exactly what I got, was we don't have a coordinator. But if you partner with a Boy Scout troop, like about 162 has some that probably Leave No Trace trained, those older Boy Scouts may have that training and they're qualified. And again, it's not a level of magnitude of project, it's having the right person guide you. And so go back and look at, I think it's about a year ago, we talked about the Outdoor Ethics Award for, must have been 20 minutes. There's a whole bunch of information on that. Go study this. It's 3 different levels of things. It's crazy, but it's a good one. So there you go. Some good things to recognize. Tools, really quickly. Anything that your scouts can hold and be safe with. rakes, hoes, shovels, hammers, screwdrivers, nothing powered, nothing super sharp. Hose, spring washer, these are okay. These are great. Pickaxe, mattock, these kind of things, you're getting into Boy Scout level there. Paint rollers, I don't know, I think the extension pole, I think they don't want Cub Scouts with huge long poles, you know. Exactly. Powered sanders, powered cutting tools, and for 16 you get up into lawn mowers and trimmers and belt sanders, and then for adults you're talking about chainsaws and bandsaws and routers and wood chippers.
I don't trust myself some of those.
Right, exactly. So just know this is directly from, I believe it's Brian on Scouting, and he synthesizes the Guide to Safe Scouting to create these things. And it's a great little article right there. If you have any questions, it's a great one to go read. Why are they important? Because for one thing, there are service projects for every single rank advancement bucket that we have, from Tiger all the way through Arrow of Light. Yes. Some of them are due to God, but a lot of these, Weeblo's one is a great example. Go on a hike, do all these things on your hike, and then do a service project on that same area. It's a big one. So think ahead. That's why we can have these things enabled as a pack to allow our den leaders a little more wiggle room, a little more ease. Take that burden off their shoulders a little bit. And also because that's kind of what we do. That's what scouting is all about. Where we give back to our community, we give back to our planet. And it's part of the character building process. It's part of the scouting experience for our youth. Okay, National, final point on this. National really wants you to submit your service hours. Servicehours.scouting.org. It is also pointed to now in the legacy tools of my.scouting.org. I got it right. If you don't have a login, you just create one. What you want to know when you go do a service project of either kind, conservation or service, the number of registered youth, the number of non-registered youth, that would be siblings, older, younger, whatever, whoever helped out. Yes, honey. Number of adults that are registered, and number of non-registered adults, other parents, older like 18 or 21 siblings or uncles or whatever. Also the total service hours provided. So if you have 10 people working for 4 hours, that's 40 hours of service. And then the date, that's it. So when you log, when you log in, servicehours.scouting.org, you'll get a login thing. Look up your password. You can create one if you don't have one. And you'll get a screen with 3 click here links. The first one is show me what I've submitted before. This is a year ago. But all the stuff that you've submitted in the past should be available. You can go back and look at it. What did you say that you did? And if you go back and click the new service project, the bottom one's Eagle Scout project, by the way. It doesn't apply to us Cub Scouters. The middle one is I have a new project.
Did we go back and do the ones we did in the past for record or not?
It's just there as a record of.
Oh, it's recorded on.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. This is just a list of things that you told the database you did. And you can go back and say, oh, right, we did that. Oh, I can copy some of those things because we work with the same organization or whatever. So we go back and you'll get this big page of all these things. I'll zoom in here a little bit. And the challenge is to pick one that fits best. Maybe you did some sort of a litter cleanup and beautification. Well, that's up there. If you picked up litter at your school. And it's going to ask you again, date of the service project, number of youth members that are registered, number of non-registered youth, number of registered adult leaders, number of other adults, and total hours. Those are the 5 things that you need. And then it's going to ask you, okay, who did you partner with, what did you do, and stuff like that. You kind of fill in the blank as best you can. Be careful. When it says do not use special characters, it really means it. Last time, about a year and a half ago, I wanted to give back to our chartered organization in double quotes, and it exploded. And it took me a while to figure out why until I stopped saying I was going to give back. So periods, commas are okay. Everything else, just be very careful and write in plain English. Otherwise, it's really simple. And then you go back, please do submit your report. You go back, and it ends up on your list. It's pretty much immediate. So that is it for that. Any questions on that one? Call to action. Go out there and do service projects. They don't have to be hard. They don't have to be, this isn't Eagle Scout service project caliber. We can do simple stuff. The storm drain markings, litter pickup, they're all fine. They're all perfectly, especially if they're accessible for our Cub Scouts and we can drive home a point about being a part of our community or being a steward of our planet, that sort of thing. Start for a variety. I had this happen about a year and a half ago. We often weeded at our school the courtyard before school started. Pick up the weeds, help out the custodian, get school ready for thing, and then we decided to do a solve thing. And one of the parents came up to me and said, "Thank goodness we're not weeding that dang courtyard again." People get tired of doing the same thing over and over again. And she's right, you know. Do a variety, and the scouts notice that too. Doing the same thing all over again. Safety is always of the utmost importance. Whatever you're doing, make sure it's safe. Guide to safe scouting. And plan it well in advance if you can. Involve your parent. It's a great opportunity to get that parent that sits in the back of the PAC meeting like this. "Hey, Jim, can you do a service project?" It's bounded. When you're done, you're done. It's only this one thing. And then maybe next time, that person will help out with something else, blue and gold, or servie, or whatever. It's a great entry point to get those parents that just are a little bit shy, a little bit back of the PAC meeting.